to rise. And the pledge this evening will be led by Council Member Casey.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. We do not have any presentations or formal proclamations. Agenda. We next have public comments. This is time set aside for anyone who is here or via Zoom to comment on any matters that are not on the agenda. If you are here to speak about a matter that's on the agenda, we will welcome those comments, but please wait till we get to that specific item or those items. So is there anyone here in person who would like to comment on a matter not on the agenda? Please come up to the lectern, identify yourself, and you will have 3 minutes.
My name is Marjorie Sanborn. I live very close to here downtown. I wanted to comment on something that's gained a lot of notice, and I'm going to start with a few quotes. There are only 2 genders. You cannot change your gender. No one is born gay. Non-binary people are not real. Mrs. Obama is trans. Trans women are ugly. Trans women are con men. Trans kids don't exist. LGBTQ grooms kids. Fire all groomer teachers. No mercy for pedos. Buy another AR-15. MAGA buy guns. And close by, Planned Parenthood. Abortion is worse than slavery. Abortion is murder. Abortion is Black genocide. From a Facebook post from Everett, I just wanted to go to the farmer's market like any other community member. I wanted to buy cherries and onions and blueberries if I could find them. Scrawled on the sidewalk in bright chalk was the missive, trans ideology is toxic. Prowling the concrete was none other than Henry Contreras, wearing his COVID-era mask as always, but not because he believes in the science of reducing the transmission of airborne illnesses, of course. No, Henry was out looking for anyone annoyed at his animus on the land, and he was ready to film them at the first glance of a reaction. I'd gotten a death threat last week from a stranger via Facebook Messenger, because why not add a little social media tech to one's cowardice? And I was a little more wary than usual. So I drove my car a strange way out of the way parking lot to the next block, aware that Henry could get my license plate if I'd exited the usual way. I do honestly think that Henry has something to do with the death threat, because he filmed me making my comments at the Walla Walla City of Walla Walla Government City Council in support of their Pride proclamation. I don't know where he posts things, but I know he does. I'm not particularly worried about the threat, but I don't need to give anyone any more opportunities to target me either. I just don't want to be reminded all the time about how many people hate me who don't even know me. I just wanted to go shop at the farmer's market. By now, I'm sure you all know who and what I'm talking about. Chalk messages on our sidewalks across our city. I have collected numerous stories and could go on for quite some time, but I only have 3 minutes. And I know you know. This is what is viewed daily by our residents, by their children, and by our visitors to our city, those visitors upon which we rely daily. We arm ourselves with water sprayers and are on call to combat these hate messages, because this is what they are, messages of hate. I've been told by numerous sources that the city attorney about 3 years ago advised the council that nothing could be done about this toxicity because a lawsuit had been filed in Seattle. But that lawsuit has now been reversed under appeal, and graffiti ordinances, which include chalk, can now be enforced. I've also heard that there is fear over lawsuit should we enforce graffiti regulation. But let's talk about the potential for lawsuits from those that see the lack of enforcement on the books of repeated hate messages as being problematic. More than problematic, hate messages are illegal. This toxicity, unchecked, has been escalating for 3+ years. Our city, my city, has allowed this behavior to continue. You continue to put the city at risk and are sending a message that you condone hate. That's not why you are sitting in those seats.
Could
I
you wrap up in
respectfully
30
that
seconds?
you reopen this issue.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Is there anyone else who would like to make a public comment on any matter not on our agenda? Up to the lectern, identify yourself, and 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor and all your city council. I've talked before because I'm keeping an eye, because my prior experience as a military cop and Captain Baines and the troopers. I seen something bad today and I see it, and it's up to you to make some changes with our bathrooms at Eastgate and the surrounding bathrooms. They're full of fentanyl and there's Mexican mafia. One was in there today and that's a threat on my life. Their body camera up, but I got a remedy. I think you know what it is. You could read my mind. Because these bathrooms that are locked up, that's, I don't like Mexican mafia in 18th Street. They're running some of this stuff and I'm doing it for free. And I'd make some adjustments. We'll get them out of town, I hope. But it's not for our kids like they're having the Sweets game tonight. Look at the condition of our bathrooms. There's my point, and I think I'd addressed it. Because it's not right for our kids, our community. I'm doing it for free. Don't cost people's lives. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in attendance who would like to make a public comment on any matter not on our agenda? No one here. Do we have anyone via Zoom, Ms. Nisel, who would like to make a public comment?
No raised hand, Your Honor.
All right, moving on. With respect to the first comment about the chalking, we as a council in discussing that issue with our city attorney appreciate your comments. Well, I won't speak for all of my colleagues, but I certainly do. And we are looking into, as a city, ways that we may legally address that issue. You talked about First Amendment and lawsuits, et cetera, and that is the law and where we are. So in that context, we as a city will try to do whatever we can, and we're discussing that to address the problem that you've brought to us and that many others have. So thank you for your comments. Any other comments from anyone before we, Councilmember Robinson?
I would like to say, in case it wasn't blaringly obvious from anyone who has heard me, I'm gay. And when I read those messages, I am just as horrified and terrified as Everett. I constantly do fear for my safety everywhere I go that I see one of those. That being said, as the only openly gay person and the only gay person that I'm aware of on this council, I can tell you the other 6 people at this dais care just as much as I do about protecting LGBTQ rights. All 6 of them have been absolutely nothing but wonderful to me since I got here, knowing full well I was a gay man and an autistic man as well. And while I do sympathize with your frustration, I will vouch for the character, the mindfulness of all 6 of these men up at this dais for me. I have never once in the time I've been here received homophobic language from these 6. I have never been made to feel unwelcome by the 6 men here. And I have never at any time felt as though, and I say this as an openly gay man and an LGBTQ activist, I have never once in my tenure thus far seen anything from these 6 men or from any member of city staff that would ever lead me to believe that they don't hear this, that they don't feel this as deeply as I do. And I have never seen anything that would suggest to me that they don't take seriously our obligations to protect all Walla Wallans, including those like myself and Everett, whom you mentioned. Thank you for your comments, but I do want to make sure I vouch for the character of the other people in this room.
Thank you. All right, moving on to our consent agenda. We have 4 items this evening. Would the clerk please summarize those for us?
Yes, Your Honor, members of council. Tonight's consent agenda includes items A through D as follows. Item A, Resolution 2024-073, authorizes a contract amendment with Anderson Perry and Associates in an amount not to exceed $90,000 for DBE certified construction phase services on the Rose Street Pavement Preservation Project. Item B, Resolution 2024-074 is a bid award for the Roosevelt Hobson and Park Alder RRFB project to ESF Solutions in the amount of $204,777. Item C accepts the resignation of Lisa Rasmussen from the Arts Commission. And item D approves the minutes of the July 10th, 2024 regular meeting.
Thank you. Does any member of council want to move any of these consent agenda items to the active agenda? Not to discuss them yet, but to move them from consent to active? No? All right, we will continue with all four. Is there anyone here in person who would like to comment or have any question about any of these four consent? No one for that purpose. Do we have anyone via Zoom?
No raised hand, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Bringing the matters, the four back to council. Any questions or comments before we entertain a motion? Looking to my left, any questions, comments? No. Looking to my right, questions or comments? What is the pleasure of council with respect to these four consent agenda items? Councilmember Robinson.
Your Honor, I'm quick on the draw today. I move that the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed by the same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to our active agenda, we have 6 items which we will proceed with as listed on the agenda, starting with resolution number 2024-075 to approve the recommendation from the City of Walla Walla hearing examiner for the Merceda subdivision preliminary plat. This is a closed record quasi judicial hearing for the benefit of those who are here or listening in or might not be familiar. What that means is that we, as a city council, are acting more like judges than we are as legislators. And with respect to this closed record, there have already been hearings and submission of documents and comments, letters, etc. And there was a hearing in front of the Walla Walla hearing examiner, an attorney from Wenatchee, who, having reviewed all the documents submitted, heard the testimony, has reached an opinion which he has issued in writing. That is the opinion before us this evening to approve this proposal for this, what is referred to as the Merceda subdivision. We as a council are limited with respect to our consideration to say yes or no to that decision of the hearing examiner to that record, which is closed, figuratively and literally. We may not this evening hear or accept any further testimony. We may not have or allow introduced into the record any additional documents from respect to the issues that before the hearing examiner and are before the council this evening. Each member of council, before we discuss and vote on this, will have to address 2 issues with respect to our acting as a quasi-judicial body. Number 1, we will have to state if we have a conflict of interest. That is usually having some financial interest in the issue before us. Not limited to that, but that's the principal example of a conflict of interest. If any member of council has a conflict of interest, that council member may not continue in further deliberations or vote on the matter. The second matter that we are to address is whether or not we feel that we are subject to what is referred to as an appearance of fairness. And that means, in the context of acting as a quasi-judicial matter, a judge, that we should not have what are referred to as ex parte or one-on-one communications with any of the applicants or people who are for it or against it, nor should we have done any independent investigation to find out additional information outside the scope of the closed record. We will all 7 speak to those 2 issues. If any member of council has what is felt to be by that council member an appearance of fairness, it should be stated number one. And then it is up to the council member individually to decide whether they have or they may continue, should continue to hear and vote on the matter. If a council member has an appearance of fairness problem and continues, any member of the public may challenge that and may come up to the lectern and state with respect to that appearance of fairness that council member X, for whatever reasons articulated, should not participate further. So that's a closed record. That's the council.